Welcome to the Listen My Podcast. I am Davidito, your host, and we back like we never left. And since we back, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. And today's guest, we're going to talk about his passion for art. What shoe does he feel is the best to customize on? What anime art videos have inspired him, and how he's incorporating that into how he customizes shoes and taking his shoe customizing to another level. Today we have on the show the one and only Black Knight, Malachi. Welcome to the show.
Listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim core. Davidito, he'll cook it up like the kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stitch.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's start here. Have you introduce yourself to the audience, kind of where you're from, background, a little bit of that.
I'm Malachi Wright. I'm 21 years old. Born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been here all my life. So I'm an artist. I do animations as well, shoe designs, custom Nike Air Forces, things of that. I'm just an artist at heart. Anything art related, that's me.
Okay. So what got you into art?
It started off as somebody in my elementary school. I got inspired by somebody that I knew, a kid named Brandon. I started, looking at his art and stuff like that. People was impressed. I was like, let me try it, and I just started doing it a lot, and people were looking, and I realized that I might actually be good at it. So I just kept going until now. I'm constantly getting better. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of anime style of art on your page. What drew you to that specific art form?
Because at the time, when it comes to anime, at the time, I didn't know what it was called growing up. I just knew it was cartoons that had blood or cartoons that had some type of it was for kids who were 13 and older. You know what I mean? It wasn't no regular cartoon. So I'm like, I don't know what the name of it is, but I like these, like Dragon Ball, of course, Naruto, things of that nature. Those things drew me in because they had actual storylines. It wasn't just Tom and Jerry stuff. It was actual storylines, actual character development, you know what I mean? And that drew me in, especially Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was very big, of course, for a lot of, people of my complexion, you know what I mean? It's very big, and I was drawn into that. So all I was drawn was Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball, all the characters. And then, I started doing other animes as well. And I just love animators, you know what I mean? The time that it takes to do that. I just love animators. I love anime. So on my page, that's why you see a lot of anime related stuff, because I knew that at the time when I started doing this, it was around the pandemic time. That's when I started doing a lot of anime drawings and stuff like that. I knew that people were inside binge watching anime stuff. So I was like, okay, well, let me get on here and, draw some anime and stuff like that. So,
Thank you for watching the podcast. Remember, go and stop by my website, Davidito Designs, and put in an order for some custom shoes that you want. Purchase some merch. Support your boy. Let's get back to the pod. What's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
Ooh, favorite Dragon Ball Z character. I'm going to have to go with, and this is, people don't really talk about this as much because I don't know if it's canon to a lot of people, but there's a character named Tavion who has a sword, he has a mohawk and things of that nature. I like him a lot. And then on canon characters, I like Future Trunks a lot. I like Future Trunks.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Mine's a little bit old school because I'm a little older than you, but Piccolo would be mine.
Oh, yeah, Piccolo.
Yeah. So what made you make a decision to go from, hey, I'm just going to do art on canvas or paper or drawing, to taking them to some shoes?
Somebody suggested it to me when I was a little bit younger. I was 18 at the time. And somebody was like, you can draw on shoes and you can, do this and do this designs. It'll go crazy. And I was like, let me try it. You know what I mean? And it started off as me just doing Vans. It was they were off-brand. They looked like Vans, but they were kind of off-brand. So it started out with me doing that. And I was like, it was getting a little better. It wasn't good at the time because I didn't know what materials to use and all that other stuff. But after doing some research, after constantly trying and failing, I just kept doing it. And then I was like, I like the way this is coming out. So let me try it with Air Forces now. Let me try it. And after that, I just started trying different shoes. You know what I mean? But I like doing it on Air Forces though.
Okay.
So and that it really got me into that because there was this guy that I was watching. I was watching a bunch of people doing it, you know, and I just saw what materials they used. And I was like, I can do this. Like this is cartoons are nothing to me, you know, not just cartoons, but I know that I mainly do those on shoes. So I'm like, cartoons are nothing to me. Like that's easy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming that the Air Force One is your favorite canvas, but could you tell me why?
I like Air Force Ones because the shoe design itself is simple to me. Like it's not too many crevices, not too many, you know, little streaks on it. Because when you're doing custom shoes, you have to get past different textures. There's different textures, there's different styles and stuff like that. So when you're drawing, it's going to affect how you choose to draw something. So with Air Force, they keep it very simple. It's not too much, you know what I mean? Especially with the front, you know, where the mouth area is, you know, it's just very simple to me. You know, and I like to keep things simple because that helps me to really freestyle. You know, I don't have to worry about running into certain issues. Now, I don't mind doing, you know, other ones because, I mean, shoes are shoes. But, you know, that's the most basic one, you know, where you can get the best results, in my opinion, is Air Force Ones.
Okay. I mean, you using the word simple, brother, but I've seen some of these shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like these Van Bruce Leroy's, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying, and Shoguns, that's some detail right there. Them
yeah,
things is nice.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. My uncle, he wanted those. So he basically was saying, like, he was just putting me to the test. He was like, well, I want to see if you can do this. I had never done actual people. Like, I was normally just doing cartoons. So he was like, you know, well, I need you to do this, da, da, da. And I was like, all right, let me try it. You know what I mean? And I was working on them like all day. Like I used to get home from work, you know, I was working a warehouse job a while ago. And I was getting home from work and stuff like that. And I would just stay in the room and I was working on them shoes. And I finally got done with them. I was like, man, you know, I took a picture of it. It's like, wow, this came out nice. You know what I mean? But yeah, those things, that's where I started to learn that there's levels to this because you have the regular basic, you know, drawings on shoes and stuff like that. And you have it to where you have to step your skill set up a notch. And that's where I'm constantly trying to improve because I don't want to stay stagnant in art. I want to always improve so that my services can be of use to other people, you know, on all different levels.
So what would you say is the area that you're trying to improve in now? And then where do you see yourself going in that space?
I want to improve with realism. And that may be with shoe design, that may be with portraits in general. I want to improve that because one thing that social media can be good and it can be bad, but the good part of it is that I've got to see so many different artists in their skill set, and I see, not to compare too much because we're in different places of our lives, but I get to see my potential. Like, okay, I see what this person is doing right here. They're 10 levels above me. Okay, this
Yeah.
is where I need to get to. You know what I mean? I saw one picture of this guy. It looked like a photograph. That's how well he painted this thing. It looked like a photograph. Not only did it look like a photograph, but he had the background. You know how you can blur out the backgrounds?
Mm-hmm.
He made it seem like the background was blurred out, like that was all his hands. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, like that's amazing to me. So that helped me to realize that I have more levels to go. You know what I mean? So that's one area that I really have to improve in is being more realistic with my art. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I end up in a space kind of in between like inspired and ready to quit. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like I'm
yeah,
like, okay, my stuff is pretty good, and you know what I'm saying I've been doing art for a minute, and then I see
yeah,
some people's stuff, and I'm like, how did you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like I give
yeah,
up. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I'm
That's
like,
real.
okay, that's dope. Let me just keep pushing. Because I feel like really there's space for us to grow in whatever we're doing, and the more you do it, the better you become at it. And then kind of trying to find what your niche is too, you know.
Right.
So I think that's different for everybody. So yeah, I hear you. There's definitely some dopeness out here. I would say for me, I think the next thing I want to be able to do is to like make a shoe from just the leather and being able to sew it together and you know what I'm saying and just
Wow.
kind of go from there. That would be the next thing that I really want to do. but I gotta get the sewing machine and do all that stuff. But that would be the next thing I would really, really love to do.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
So talk to me a little bit about kind of like what your business model is in doing this. Are you selling shoes? Can people come to you for an order?
Yeah.
Or you just feel like you're still in the exploring stage?
It's a little bit of both. So people can obviously, like, people have DM'd me for different things. So all they have to do is just go to my Instagram. But I still sell shoes, portraits, custom. If people need anything done, like, for example, some people, they have family members who passed away, they may want a portrait. They can DM me. Shoes as well. People, oh, I got a son, I need shoes, they can hit me up that way as well. So, it's still a business at the end of the day, but I'm still able to grow at the same time. So it's not like, oh, I'm not going to do nothing until, I'm still working this business, but I'm also improving so that, the quality of my product is increasing,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I asked that question because one of the questions that I get the most in doing this is how much do you charge? Right. So I think there's two different conversations. There's one for the consumer, but then there's also one for the artist, because you also run into the thing of how do I charge? Like, what do I charge? You know what I'm saying? So talk a little bit about that and what your process is right now in that in that.
So, and that's a question that I came across when I was first, starting as well. My main thing is that one of the things that I was taught by people who own businesses, you also have to charge for the time that it took you. And that was the main thing that I had to learn, is that, okay, if it's taking me 6 hours to do this, I got to count that. I have to count that into the price. Shipping and all this other stuff, I have to count that in there. It's like, okay, so how much is shipping going to be? Let me add that. If it's $30, I'm just saying hypothetically, okay, $30 for shipping. Okay, well, I got to put that in there. You know what I mean? How much was my material? Okay, well, I got to put that in there. So then you come up with, like, let's say for 18 by 24 canvas, portrait canvas, like $150. The material was, $11 canvas. Watercolor paint brushes was like $7. You had paint brushes, the actual paint brushes, $5. Total that together, okay, and I got $150, and I'm making like a profit of $100, plus the shipping thing that I got to do. Okay, so it's very simple. You know what I mean? So all you're doing is this is all I'm doing. So I can only speak for me, but all I do is, like, what did it cost me to do this? You know what I mean? How long? What was my and then also I calculate my actual art, like how well I did it, what I used, is it color, is it black and white, like, what I'm saying? That all comes together. And once I do that, I got the price. Like, I know that somebody recently, I just did a portrait for someone's birthday, and it was like $150 canvas. It only took me like 6 hours to do. You know what I mean? So it didn't take me too long, because for some reason I'm able to do stuff very quickly, and it still looks great. You know what I mean? I don't know why. I just been like that. But that's all the things that I used to factor in. That's how I was taught with certain things. So
Yeah, and some of it is repetition. I feel like the more you do it, the faster you get, and then you find different methods that work for you to speed up the process in that space too. So, what would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned so far?
the biggest thing that I've learned is because I learned quite a few things, but I say the biggest thing I've learned is to not sell myself short. I think sometimes I underestimate how well I do something until people see it and they hop on my live stream. They're like, this is great. And I'm like, yo, like, this is level one stuff for me. Like, this is, to me, it could be better, which it can, but sometimes I forget that whatever I do is still marketable. It's still able to, generate certain things. And I sell myself short sometimes. Like, no, man, this need to be better. Ain't nobody gonna buy it. No, they will buy it. They will. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So selling myself short, that's something that I've learned not to do. You know what I'm saying? I've learned that over this long journey that I've been on. It's not to do that. And that's been a major thing for me.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, because a lot of artists tend to be perfectionists at times, right? So where is the space for you where you go, okay, I know I could do more. I know I want to do more, but I need to be done with this project and move on.
Mm. Um, I think that for me, I've struggled with that for a while. I've struggled with trying to find that balance because I want it to be as perfect as it needs to be. Like people say there's no such thing as perfect, but to me, I believe that I can achieve that. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that there's no mistakes and nothing like that, but it takes me a while to be like, okay, I need to move on and da da da. It just depends on what else is, because sometimes I have different projects lined up, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's actually on an actual timer, not a literal timer, but I mean, like I need it done by a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to realize that I got to just put my best foot forward, and the outcomes that happen, they happen. You know what I mean? But I try not to let the perfectionist thing take over too much because, you know, it could ruin you if you let it go too far. But I want my stuff to be as perfect as possible as an artist, just as an artist. If it doesn't look good to me, it can look good to everybody around me. But if it don't look good to me, I'm like, okay, we got to scrap this. I need to change some things around, and you know what I mean? And it helps me at the end of the day. It helps me sleep peacefully knowing that, okay, this is taken care of. Because to other people's eyes, if they're not artists, they're not going to understand. But I see it. They don't see it. They just see, oh, this looks great. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I promise you it don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's how I deal with it. I try to moderate that.
Yeah. So earlier you talked about like one of the reasons that drew you to anime was like them having the storyline, right?
Mm-hmm.
In your artwork and what you're doing right now, do you have different storylines that you're trying to portray when you're doing it, or are you just exploring right now?
Yeah, I do. Right now I'm in a space where I'm doing a lot of influencers because those are the people that I grew up watching. You know, I'm doing a lot of YouTuber portraits and stuff like that. I'm doing all these things, and then on top of that, I also have animations that you know I'm working on and that I've already came out with. And I'm constantly working on this one animation project with a storyline and stuff. I already wrote the script and everything like that. So those are, and that's one of my major key projects is this animation that I have that I want. I don't want to even say that I put a timeline on it, but I really do want this to be like one of the biggest. It will be one of the biggest projects that I've ever done. But yeah, I really the storyline right now is just content creators, inspirations. That's all. That's all I've been doing. It's just people who inspire me. So every time you see me paint someone, they have probably affected me in some way. I probably watched them. I probably gathered something from them. So it's always a story in what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's not random. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, I like that setup too. That
Ah,
setup back
thank you,
with all
sir.
the shoes and
Thank
stuff
you.
like that. Yeah, when I saw it, I'm like, this is a real podcast, man.
Yeah,
Official,
yeah,
man.
man. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying. We trying. We trying. Um, I mean, I guess you kind of already answered this question. My next question was going to be, what? Tell me something that you're excited about that you're working on. Um, I'm assuming the animation is one, but
Yeah, that's one. You know, that's quite a few things too. Another thing is that I'm working on, I want to do more, what do they call it? I forgot what it's, but it's like pencil portraits. Because normally I just do watercolor and I want to work on acrylics. I have a bunch of acrylic ideas that I want to bring, you know, that I will bring into fruition. But acrylics and, you know, those pencil portraits with a nice blending and stuff like that. I just got a lot of different dope things that are coming. You know what I mean? I just have a lot of things that I want to do. I want to do another Nike Air because I did a promotional for the SpongeBob Nike Air Forces, so I want to do another Nike Air Force promotion with better animation this time. You know what I mean? Even better than before. You know what I mean? So those are some of my main things. You know, because like I said before, I really don't want to stay stagnant in anything. I always want to improve and evolve, always getting better every year. It shouldn't be the same thing, you know, for another year. It should be going into something better. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's what I'm focused on, man.
So I've heard you say watercolor a couple different times now. So
Yeah,
what is the draw to watercolor? Because that's a whole nother skill set to learn in itself.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Just learning like what paper to use and like
Mhm.
all that stuff. So what was the draw to watercolor? And it ain't something that's easily to manage because that them
Yeah,
joints run. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
they do.
So
They do, man. Um, Someone got me into it. Someone bought me a watercolor set. I don't even paint. I just started painting maybe a couple years ago. But somebody got me a watercolor set. I'm like, let me try it out. It was dripping everywhere when I first tried it. It's like, what is going on with this thing? And I had to learn how to actually do this. I had to just research, okay, how do I blend this in with this? How do I do this? And then after a while, I just started getting a little better with it. Then I started posting live streams with the watercolor. And now, if you look at my live stream, that's pretty much all I'll be doing. A lot of times, I'm doing watercolor stuff. Now I mix in acrylics and I mix in other like Posca markers and stuff like that. I mix in a lot of different stuff. But now it's more advanced now. It's not just splattering color everywhere. It's blending them in, bringing the portrait to life. You know what I mean? So that's how that started. Somebody introduced me to that, and I was kind of leery because at first I didn't do the painting thing. I was just a pencil and paper kind of dude, put some color together, customize shoes. And then, I was like, let me try this. I have to master everything. To be an artist, you got to master all forms of art, that includes painting, that includes drawing, sculpting, all those things, animation, all of them.
yeah, I hear you. I'm still very much a lot of pen and paper, but
Yeah, yeah.
I've started moving to do stuff on digitally
Uh-huh.
as well. But I don't know what it is about color. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
got to color something that I drew, I know what I think part of it is. I'm like, all right, I just took all this time to perfect this drawing. If I put this
Uh-huh.
color on here and mess it up, I'm gonna be mad. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the other day I was like, maybe I just need to like, okay, draw it and then make a copy of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just color on the
Yeah.
copy. Because
Yeah.
if I mess up the original, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna be real mad. Mhm.
Yeah. See, I was one of those dudes who had to mess up until I got it right. Like I had to keep messing up my stuff until I learned how to actually color. But I had to go through that. I had no printers to make extra copies. It was just that one copy. If I messed it up, it was gonna be messed up. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
after you understand how color works, and I'm still color. To me, color is always changing. Like different blends, um, different combinations you can put together and stuff like that of color. So it's always I'm always learning from it. You know what I mean? But if you know the core pieces, your primary colors, if you know all these different things,
Yeah.
coloring your work is easy. Blending colors together, painting them and things like that, that's light work. You know what I mean? The hard part is trying to, at least for me, the hard part when it comes to my work is making this as realistic as possible.
Mhm.
Making the viewer see this and be like, wow. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. Because anybody can say, okay, the person's face is brown, the eyes are brown, the hair is black. Anybody can do that, but to make it pop so that it doesn't look flat like a cartoon character, to make it pop to where it looks alive, that's where the art comes in at. That's where you become an artist at. And that's where I'm trying to perfect that craft, is to
Yeah.
bring pictures to life. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All the highlights and the where the lighting is coming from and the bright spots and yeah, man. Yeah, that's all the little details for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Davidito Designs. Davidito Designs is my website. That's where you can go and purchase some customized shoes. You can go in there and fill out a request form. Let me know what kind of shoes you want, design, and let's collaborate and bring whatever design or idea you have for some shoes to life. As well as you can go in there and purchase some merch, shirts, stickers, couple different items that are there and constantly growing. Once again, Davidito Designs. It's Davidedo Designs. I'll see you over there. Okay, so question: where did the name come from? Where does the Dark Knight art come from?
Where did the Dark Knight art come from? So I wanted to if you look at my thumbnail on my Instagram, you'll see me in like a knight's outfit or something like that with the the side profile. I wanted to blend multiple. I want to make it like a double entendre almost. I just wanted to blend multiple meanings together. Dark Knight, like a actual Dark Knight, and then a Dark Knight because I'm dark skinned, and just blend that whole thing together. Then Arts, I wanted to spell it with a Z just to make it more catchy instead of the regular S. Because I see people do arts all the time, so I just want to put a Z at the end and just make that, what I'm saying, just turn that into something. But yeah, that's where that name comes from. It also comes from like European ancestry because you had a lot of original rulers over there who were melanated people in Europe. You know what I mean, and like Britain and Scotland. During the Middle Ages. So yeah, but that's where that came from. The DarkKnightArtz name. That's where that come from.
Okay. Yeah, because two things popped in my head when I first saw it. I'm not gonna lie, Darkwing Duck was one of them. And there's an older movie with Martin Lawrence in it. And
Yep.
Those are the two things that popped in my mind.
That's good. You saw that. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Those are two things that popped in my mind when I saw it. So I was curious about that. So how long would you say you've been doing customs?
Man, I've been doing it. So let's say 18, 19. I'm about to say about 3 years now. It's been about 3 years.
Perfect. That's just you just made this next question probably harder for yourself.
Okay,
So with 3 years of catalog, give me your top 5 custom shoes that you've done or designed.
I'll put number 1 the SpongeBob Air Forces that I did. Number 2, I did My Hero Academia shoes. That were pretty. They were pretty dope to me. They were like the I forgot what's the name of those shoes that they used to wear back in the 80s with the star on it. It's like the star on the side of them. It used to be like baseball shoes.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the
name. But yeah, those. Yeah, but I did those. Those are also on my social media. And then I also did Gravity Falls slide on. They were like Levi's, custom Levi's or whatever. Gravity Falls, because I like the Disney show Gravity Falls. I love the whole storyline of Gravity Falls. All the characters and everything like that. Grunkle Stan, Mabel, Dipper, all that other stuff. So yeah, those are my top 3 right there. Yeah.
I need 2 more.
Let me see. I did one of my own characters. I did a shoe of my own characters.
Okay.
That was a while ago. And they had, it had a different blend of characters and stuff like that. And lastly, let me see. I want to pick something good. I did Boondocks. I did Boondock slides. I love those. Yeah, those are.
I saw them with all the faces on the toe on the tote box. Yeah, those are clean too. Was a bit of a Boondocks fan. I almost want to put Boondocks in with anime. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a part of me that's like just put it in there with anime. But
I want to do that too because it's like it's real enough that it's not necessarily for like little babies and stuff like that. It's real enough, and then also it's not too serious for it to not be an anime. So I feel like you could put it in there because it has certain components that anime has as well. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you mentioned that you have your own characters. 1, what are the characters? And then 2, walk us through a little bit of what character development looks like for you.
Okay. One of the characters' name is Malachi, oddly enough, One of the characters, my main character. And I came up with this character based off of I wanted the character to have humble beginnings. So Malachi works in space. This takes place in a futuristic time zone. You know what I mean? He's in space. He has a space trash job. Basically, he picks up space junk or whatever like that. That's his job to do that. But his goal is to own his own planet one day. And that's the goal because when you own your own planet, all the businesses, all the buildings, all the homes, all the houses on your planet, you're making money from that. So anybody who wants to live on your planet, imagine if one person owned the whole entire Earth. in this earth that we live in, if somebody owned the whole entire earth, how much money would they be making based off of everybody's businesses, everybody who has land on this earth? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's his story, Malachi's story. So he goes through all these different adventures with his coworkers and his dog. They go through all these different adventures, fighting different monsters, all this, just traveling the planet, picking up trash and stuff like that for his job. But he's saving up money to buy his own planet. That's his ultimate goal. So every character, when it comes to character development, they have to have an end goal. They have to have something that they're striving for. That's what makes the story interesting. So we get to see what our character is chasing. For Naruto, in the anime of Naruto Shippuden, his main goal was to be the Hokage. For Goku wanted to be the strongest. He wanted to be the strongest. At least in Dragon Ball, the first one, he wanted to be the strongest. And still, throughout the whole series, he did. But every character has an end goal that they're trying to get to. They have different stumbling blocks, which Malachi has as well. They have the height of the story, and then they have different side characters that you bring in to make this more interesting so that we can love those characters as well. That's why people love Piccolo. That's why people love Gohan, in Dragon Ball, because I wouldn't even consider Gohan a side character. He kind of like one of the first, in there too. But people like Yamcha, Tien, and all these different people is because they're side characters that have personality. So Malachi, his co-workers or the other characters, the side characters that he has, a friend named Jonathan, a dog, cyborg, half cyborg, half dog, another co-worker named Sola, those things come together, to make a perfect story. So I have all these different character designs and stuff like that in my books and my little design books and stuff like that. I still have all these different scripts and stuff like that. And I've been making little clips on Instagram. Like I made one clip of it. Just a little 1 minute, little something, you know what I mean? But ultimately, I'm probably, I'm getting together, a team of people. I've voice acted some of the things. I've had some people voice act some of, the other characters. But I realized that with projects like this, you are going to need a team. I used to be so solo dolo. I used to be I can do this all, which a lot of people can, but it's going to take you a lot longer. You know what I mean? And me realizing that sometimes you may have to pay people to do certain things, people who are experts in that field. If you don't have that knowledge yourself, you may have to pay somebody to do the rigging. You may have to pay somebody to do this, the backgrounds. You may have to pay somebody to do the line work and all these other different things. You may have to do that. But at the end, it's your ideas that they're putting, forth. Yeah. And you're going to see the whole masterpiece come together with everybody being a part of your team, and that's me learning how to be a team player. Which is the process that I'm currently going through right now. So
nice, yeah. Man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see this. You know what I'm saying? It sounds dope. Tell me, where does the passion come from, right? Like I'm listening to you talk and you're very, very passionate and excited about art and what you're doing. Where does that come from? Where does that stem from?
It just stems from, because one thing about art is that any idea that you have in art, anything that's going on in your brain, you can show everybody else. If you have you have a lot of people who wake up out of a dream and it's like, man, I just had this amazing dream about this idea. You can bring that idea into fruition. You can bring it to pass. You can literally put it out on a canvas. You can literally upload it to YouTube. There's so many ways, so many different platforms where you can bring your ideas to life. It's just your imagination. All you need is an imagination. That's it. And everything else, you just got to put your best foot forward. So my passion just comes from, of course, doing art for so many years and just characters. I love characters. I love characters who have different emotions, different type, angry characters, happy characters, just something that brings the story together to where people can say, wow, I love this show. And that's what I'm going to do, is bring forth this. The show is called Malaplanet. That's the name of the show. But that's what I'm going to bring across. And, there's so many things that I want. There's so many places I want this show to go, that I know it will. But the passion just comes from constantly seeing these things as a child, seeing these storylines, seeing different cartoons and saying, I want to do that. I want to make people feel how I felt watching these cartoons. I know I can draw. I know I can animate a little bit. I ain't going to act like I'm the best animator in the world, but I can, what I'm saying? I put frames together, you know what I mean? Yeah. I can in betweens and stuff like that. So, that's where it comes from. I'm ready to get to work.
Yeah. So in that, like I said, I hear the passion, but speak to us, me and audience, a little bit about the resilience that you have in order to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like this takes time, and there's gonna be ups and downs. There's gonna be some hurdles. There's gonna be some that didn't land the way I wanted it to land. You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be some resilience that comes with this. So speak a little bit to that, and then how do you implement that into what you're doing to push forward?
Um, I just know that I already knew coming into this that anything that's worth getting is not going to be made easy for you. If we could all be millionaires easily, we would, but we can't because I'm not going to say we can't, but a lot of us are not because it's not an easy road and it's not meant for people who are not tough enough. So I already know that there's going to be ups and downs coming. You know what I mean? But my end goal, where I see this show going, where I see my art gifts and the portraits and all this, where I see this going, it's it's worth it. Going through all these ups and downs, it's worth it, for the end goal, which is ultimately my success, and and the success of people around me. So ultimately, I understand that there's so many things coming, but it's worth it in the end for me. You know what I mean? Because I see the end goal, I see the tunnel. You know what I mean? I see that light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what I'm working towards. That's what I'm trying to get to. You know what I mean? So that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me, grounded. That's what keeps me focused.
Yeah. So throughout the podcast as we've been talking, I've been hearing you constantly say, basically moving with the end in mind. Right. Like whether
Mm-hmm.
it's been in a character as far as the development and what you're doing and moving forward. Like I keep hearing that from you. And I feel like people lose sight of that a lot of times. They may have a goal, but they haven't mapped it out. Right. So
Right.
talk to me and audience a little bit about like what does that look like for you? Have you sat everything down and mapped it out? Or what does that look like?
So the main things I always make I'm a visual type of person. I love to see what I'm going for. So what I do is like print pictures out and just look at them. Look at what I want. That's what I'm always doing. Okay, I know where I need to go, because if you don't know where you want to go, that's like a ship without a sail. It's like it's going everywhere. So I know where I want to go. I know what I'm trying to get to. Okay, this is where I want to be. I want to do this as well, and I need to do this right here. So I've always had goals written down, even from like a couple years ago. Some of those goals I've accomplished. You know what I mean? Some of those I've checked off. Okay, bam, got that, and I still got a lot more left because I'm
Yeah.
only 21. We just getting started. You know what I'm saying, with this thing. So but I'm a visual person, so like I'll make pictures and stuff like that and look at them. Okay, this is where I want to go. I want to do this. I want to do that, because me seeing it keeps me encouraged because I know where I'm going. You know what I mean? I need to see where I'm going. You know what I mean? And that's how that's how I'm able to map out different things. Also write them down. Of course, this is what I want to have accomplished. Number two, I'll also do that as well. You know what I mean? It may not be like some people have it down to the last hour, like on the 5th of April, I want to have
Yeah.
this. Some people it's mapped to the T. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't do that because I don't know what tomorrow may bring. It may get to that date and something may get pushed back. It may get to, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what to expect, but I will have an estimate, you know what I'm saying? I'll have to where, okay, I need to have this done. I need to have this done. It may not be like super tight, but like right here, 30 seconds on this day is like, yo, you know what I mean? Because we're not God, you know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
can't, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. So, what I would like for you to do is one, give a piece of advice to anybody who's getting ready to start this journey. Like, right, it's a new person. I'm thinking about doing art. I'm thinking about doing customizing. Give them a piece of advice.
Mm. My main thing is, and this is the reason why I say this, is because I noticed that a lot of people get discouraged when they're doing art. They get discouraged because sometimes their product, it doesn't look good at first. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they're drawing things and they have to crumble the paper up and they got to restart. The main thing is not to get aggravated, because my family members can tell you especially like my siblings, my cousins and stuff like that, they can tell you when I was younger, I used to be on the steps in my grandparents' house, like drawing papers and stuff like that, drawing different stuff. And if it did not look right, I would crumple it up and throw it away. And they'll look at me like, that was good. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, it was horrible. Like, I just crumple it up and I'll restart. And they used to just look at me like I was crazy. But it's like, I didn't mind restarting. And that's the main thing. Do not be upset if you have to restart. Don't be upset if you have to go back to the drawing board. It happens. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as you know where you're trying to get to. Like, don't be upset if this didn't work out and you have to restart. Okay, restart. Make it better. That's just the game. That's how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna get it right the first time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you may, and sometimes you may not. But when you don't, you know what I'm saying? Just be ready to restart and recoup and stuff like that. And also, sometimes I get the creative block to where it's like, oh man, what should I do next? Like, thinking about, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to freestyle and your mind just goes blank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes I just have to step back and like take a break real quick. Let me chill out. Let me just sit back and just relax real quick. And then the idea will come to me. You know what I mean? When I'm not focused on it, it'll come to me. And I can, okay, now I can do this now. You know what I mean? So that's my main thing is don't be afraid to change things up, man. Don't be afraid to restart.
Yeah. So for me, it's you talked about almost having like a artist block, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happens. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna run out of ideas. But what ends up happening, I'll start creating something, and then the more I create, the more ideas get flooded into my head, and I'm like, I don't have enough time. There's so many things I want to do, and I don't have time. So that's one thing that I would always encourage somebody if you feel like, hey, I don't know what to do, just start doing something, and the ideas will come. You know what I'm saying? The ideas will come for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
What inspires you?
Oh man. Man, where do I start? What inspires me is just number one, seeing other artists do their thing, seeing how other artists are progressing, and then just looking at life. Life is when you sit back and look at life and how it works. And I'm still in the earlier stages of it, so I'm not gonna talk like I'm one of these 54-year-old dudes. You know what I'm saying? I don't got it like that. But just from what I've seen so far, after 21 years, is that I sit back and look at life, and I know that it's a trial of up and downs that happen. You go up, you go down. You go up, you go down. And as long as you stay the course, you'll go back up. As long as you stay the course and stay with it, you'll go back up. So that what encourages me, what inspires me when I'm doing my art is just looking at life. Everything doesn't always work out like you want it to. A lot of things, most things don't work out like you want it to. You know what I mean? And just learning to stick and stay the course throughout the whole process. That's just to look at life. That's what inspires me. And then, like I said before, seeing other artists do their thing on social media, which is why I say social media is so good, because I get to see, we would not have been able to do this like 30 years ago. We would not have been how everybody's on YouTube and you can just go learn from this person, learn from that person. We could not do this 30 years ago. You know what I mean? You'd have to go to some art school to learn this. Now you got people who are self-taught. They're doing portraits that look like somebody took a photograph off their phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that really inspires me because I know the sky's the limit now. Now there's no excuses. Now we have everything that we need. We have all the tools. So there's no excuse for me. There's no excuse for anybody. I have to get it. And I have to, because it's too much out here for me. It's too much money to be made. Not just money, but it's too much success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Especially in something that you're passionate about. So for sure.
Yeah.
So last question. Where could we find you at? Where can we follow you at? If we wanted to get a pair of these dope Bruce Lee Roy slides, where we get them from?
They just DM me on DarkKnightArtz. That's it's spelled with 2 K's. The dark and then the night as well. No spaces or nothing like that. But DarkKnightArtz with a Z at the end. That's on Instagram, that's on TikTok, and that's on my YouTube as well. But you can DM me on Instagram for any type of portraits, any type of shoes, anything like that, anything you need. Also do like custom sweaters and all the other stuff. All that good stuff.
Perfect, man. Thanks for being on, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you being here. Malachi, thank you again for being on the Lace My podcast. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. Remember, jump over to my website, Davidito Designs, and cop some merch. Until next time, remember, fear is fake, creating this problem solving.
Folks, listen, it takes wisdom to grab these sneakers and spin them. Cut a couple of linen and match them up with the denim core. Davidito, he'll cook it up like a kilo and have your Air Ones appropriate with the stilo. He's no Lilo, but he's mean with the stick.